Hey now, friends, I'm coming to you a day or two late with this Friday training because I needed Wi-Fi. I needed a really good connection, and I tried to. I was out of town on Friday, working but out of town, up in the San Juan Islands. And although I had internet, I didn't have a good enough connection, and I didn't want to screw this thing up because I think today's message is so important. It's important to us in business. But today's message for me, I've been married 20 years. I've got two kids, teenagers. One just graduated high school. One's going to be a sophomore. I have a team of about 4 or 5 people here at New American Funding. I have 2 branches. All of them require communication skills. All of them require me to be better at communication. I can tell you that I'm not an expert at communication, okay? I can tell you that I'm a man. And most men that I know, including myself, are not natural gifted communicators. Okay, it's something that we have to work on. But I believe that anything that is a skill can be improved on, and communication is one of those. Okay, and so I'm not coming to you and training you today as a coach and as a trainer on being an expert in communication. I think that I've had some training. I've read a lot of books, and I've hired a lot of great people, including Rene Rodriguez, which I'm going to share some information today. Both Tony Blodgett and I have hired him he has a 2-day event called Amplify Your Influence. It's about $8,000 for the 2-day event. I've done 5 of them. So I've spent less than right under $50,000 to improve my communication skills. And I've gone back 4 additional times after doing the original Amplify Your Influence because I've seen the value there. So I want to encourage you, if you want to get better at communication skills, like I'm going to talk about today, and he has a book called Amplify Your Influence by Rene Rodriguez, and he also has, I think every single month, he's all over the country. You can take his 2-day event, and I promise you it'll help you. I think that as a mortgage professional that deals with borrowers and realtors, I think that as a branch manager, a team leader that deals with employees, as a branch manager that deals with employees and loan officers, as a husband, been married 20 years to Jenny, communication is really important in relationships. And so today's message, whether you are a husband, a wife, a partner, a parent, whatever you do outside of being a mortgage professional, today's short message will add value. Now, the reason why this message is so important, I think to get an advantage, there's 2 reasons. Number 1, to have an advantage in this market. Let me even go as far as saying not even to have an advantage. Communication skills will give you an advantage. But to compete in this market, it's tough. It's a grind. Communication skills right up there with sales skills. And I would go as far as saying that I think great salespeople are unbelievable communicators. I will go further and say that the best leaders in the world are ridiculously amazing communicators. Okay. And so I think all of us are in a position of leadership when we're dealing with borrowers. We're leading borrowers. I think we're all in a position of leadership when we're working with realtors. We're leading realtors through a transaction. I think as parents, if you're a parent, you're leading your kids. If you're in a relationship, you're leading your spouse. Okay, you are leading your partner. I promise you. Whether you are a male or a female, there's a leadership aspect to being in relationships. So today's message is just going to be incredible. Let's start with this 1.5-minute video from Rene Rodriguez. Now, if you talk to Tony Blodgett or myself about these events that we go to, the majority of them is understanding how the brain, these events with Rene Rodriguez, the majority, a big part, maybe day 1 of these events is understanding how the brain takes in information and processes it. And so when we're dealing with realtors, when we're dealing with borrowers, we have a brief moment of time, like seconds, to make an impression, to be different, to stand out. And if you don't, you are what they expected. You're just the mortgage broker. You're just the finance person, the realtor. You're just the loan officer that I think of as a commodity. But if you're good at what you say, in those few seconds, in those moments, you'll stand out. You'll get their attention. You'll be different. Okay? You can change their perception of who you are, of what they think you are, what they think they're going to get from you. Great example of that. When you connect with a borrower for the first time, what do you say? Hey, I got your number from Cindy over at John L. Scott Real Estate. I'm a mortgage broker, and and I'm looking forward to getting you pre-approved to buy your first home. Have you been pre-approved before? Is blah, 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 blah. That's what most mortgage people do. Instead, if you have an opportunity to frame that conversation, you have an opportunity to stand out. So what I do at the very beginning on the very first phone call with the borrower, for example, is I ask for a text intro by the realtor, and I ask the client when they have a couple of minutes, 2 to 3 minutes for a quick conversation today, to talk about their current financial situation, their goals and their dreams around buying a home, okay, and their timeline, okay? So already in that text, there's purpose, there's perspective to that call. Now, when I make the call, number one, I have energy. I bring big money energy. Read the book by Ryan Serhant, Big Money Energy. I bring that energy to the call. So when I call them, Sarah, hey, this is Dan Keller at New American Funding, the mortgage professional that Cindy at John L. Scott introduced to you. How are you today? I'm so excited that we were able to carve out a couple of minutes to talk about you and buying a home. This is the best time, in my opinion, in 17 years. This is the best time to get into the housing market. And I'm stoked, number one, to share with you why. Number two, to work alongside you to get you into a house, start creating wealth. And then I let them talk. Hey, Sarah, I'm curious real quick. How did you guys meet Cindy? How do you know Cindy? Guys, we've talked about this before. I'm triangling for trust, okay? Taking the focus off of mortgage rate, mortgage process, pre-approval right now, and putting it on them. Well, we've known Cindy for years. I went to college with Cindy and watched her sell a bunch of homes. I've been following her on Instagram, and she's amazing. And when it came time to buying a home, we couldn't think of anyone else but Cindy. Great. That's awesome. Cindy's amazing. I too follow Cindy on Instagram. I too get to work in the trenches with Cindy and see how amazing she is too. And I absolutely adore Cindy. She's awesome. Hey, Sarah, I got a quick question for you. What did Cindy say about us? Okay. Cindy said you guys were amazing. She said you guys were the best in the business, and you and your team do an amazing job, and you're a pro in the market, and you guys communicate great, and you have very competitive terms. Wow, so that's really, really good. I appreciate Cindy saying all of that stuff, and that's Cindy's perspective and what she sees and what she gets from our clients, and I love that. And boy, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna live up to everything she says, +1. Okay, +1. Because here's what I can tell you, Sarah. Every single client's different. Now, we've closed dozens of transactions with Cindy, but I can tell you that every single client's different, and every single client has different needs. That's why I wanted to set up this call with you today to customize your experience. I'm going to stop right here because I've actually done coaching calls on how that conversation goes. But you guys, I frame that initial phone call like that. How excited do you think Sarah is to talk to me now? I framed up, again, re-amplified why Cindy referred them to us. Number two, how I'm going to customize it and how important everyone wants a customized experience. Nobody wants a cookie cutter experience. We wouldn't have jobs if that was the case. So number one, brought the energy. Number two, what I said is different than what other mortgage professionals say, so that in the event they decide to go out and shop or talk to someone else, guys, I've raised the bar so stinking high that they better have way better rates than us. There better be one other thing, and the only other thing could be rates that could smash us for them to want to go somewhere else, okay? So big energy, framing, knowing what you're saying something that frames what they're gonna get out of this experience, that's framing extraordinary value, that's framing why they should work with us, and it's in the words you say. Let's listen to Rene Rodriguez on stage at an Amplify event on how he teaches the importance of framing and the importance of narrative and perspective. Give me 1 second.
You're going to hear this. You're hearing this in the media. You're hearing this in politics. You're hearing this everywhere. What's the narrative? And I want to tell you, we're going to dive deep into this concept. So to understand narrative, you have to understand this feeling that you just had right there. The lesson is in your brain right now. I want you to tell me what just happened the moment I stopped and I stared off there. Curiosity, what else? Confusion, what else? Uncomfortable, keep going. Worried, huh? Narratives are constructs of reality. We make the assumption to fill that gap so that we understand what's happening in the world, which becomes our perception, which becomes our reality. And so if we look at it, your brain immediately filled it with an assumption. So let's take this a little bit further, okay? Let's pretend that we all work for the same company and our CEO doesn't show up. One person over here says, oh, John didn't show up again? He's out probably buying another yacht. I don't know how many yachts he needs. It's one way to fill the gap. Somebody over here says, wait, John didn't show up? Let me call him and see if he's okay. Another way to fill the gap. And so here we have, same scenario, CEO doesn't show up, but two completely different narratives constructing two simultaneous what? Realities.
The narratives construct and frame the realities. Think about that. And if you don't say the right thing up front, that gap that Rene talks about, we spent half a day on this. The importance of what you say up front to someone fills that gap, which is perception, which ultimately, you guys, is reality. So the words that you choose to say in the first 12 seconds, 10 seconds, frames the perception that that borrower, that realtor, the kid, your kid, your spouse is going to have on the experience, or the gap, if you will, so that they know what to expect next. Without that, they frame it on their own, like the CEO one, right? That CEO conversation. Without understanding where that CEO is, someone's going to say he's probably out wasting money or on a vacation or spending money or doing this because, oh, he's super rich or whatever. The other person's going to say, I'm going to call him because that's unlike Tony, for example, right? That's unlike so-and-so to not show up, right? So framed properly helps give that narrative or secures that narrative, filling that gap that now allows that person to have an incredible experience. Now, I'm going to use a real-time experience over the last week that I had with a loan officer in our region, okay? They were a part of a transaction, and in my opinion, the communication could have been better. But because of the lack of communication and where that file was at, it was closing late. It was on the closing day or a day past the closing date. The real estate agents, the listing agent, was freaking out, and rightfully so. Had there been better communication, guys, I solved the entire problem because I picked up the phone and I called the listing agent. First off, I called Lisa, our head of underwriting, found out exactly where the file was, got some notes on it, and I just called the listing agent. And I told him exactly where we're at. Hey, I got some rough news for you. It's not closing. You are correct. It's not closing on time. It's still in underwriting. The really good news is, here's where it's at. Here's what's happening. We need a 2 or 3 day extension, and this is all going to work out. So I'm going to pause on that scenario. I can tell you as a top producer, I stay out of hot water because I communicate. That's it. Sometimes, and I've gotten good at communicating not so great news, but here's what I can tell you from a lot of it at-bats and a lot of experience. You guys, I need you to listen. Most loan officers, most men will set aside communicating properly and sweep things under the rug thinking that that's going to make things worse or better, and it's going to go away. And guys, it only makes things worse when you do that. So where I've gotten better as a communicator, as a leader, as a father, as a husband, as a team leader, when you got rough news, you just address it head on right in the moment. Two, it's so much better for your mental health. It gets it out of your mind. It gets it off of your shoulders and off of your heart. And it allows you to just think more clearly and be less stressed, if you will, more stress-free, less anxiety. So you got bad news. One, we got to address the bad news with the underwriter, with the processor. We're problem solvers. We got to fix things, right? So let's go get the details. Can this be fixed? Yes, but we're going to need 3 days. Cool. This is not good. We know the realtors, the borrowers are not going to like this. Here's the thing. Get on the phone right away. Get your facts. Get your facts. If the deal is dead and nothing can be done, you can't broker it. No matter what, it's dead. It's a dead deal, but we can fix it in 1 or 2 months. Cool. Hey, something came up. Something came up. We didn't necessarily miss this, but a part of the underwriting process is a massive deep dive. We still have a ton of regulation in the mortgage industry, and something came up on the tax returns. Something came up on X, Y, and Z on the title search. And I got some tough news for you, real estate agent. Our clients are going to be declined. This transaction's going to need a rescission, okay? The good news is I can fix this. I'm going to need 2 months. But the bad news is in the moment, it's a dead deal. I've done everything. I can't broker it. This is bad, okay? That's worst case scenario. And you tell the agent. You don't let the agent go tell the listing agent. You have a reputation in the marketplace. You go out there and you call the listing agent. I call the listing agent. Mr. Listing Agent, you're not going to like to hear this. I'm the mortgage professional managing the financing on 123 Maple Street. I just got some horrible news from underwriting. Something showed up on the title report. The particular borrower is actually still married and didn't disclose that on the loan application. I'm calling you because this is not normal in my office. We take great applications, but this particular one, the borrower didn't disclose that they're still a part of a marriage that's being dissolved, and I can't help that. We cannot close the transaction for another 60 days. We have 2 options here. I need to decline this loan. You guys need to work on a rescission, and you need to go get this house back on the market and get it sold for your clients. Number 2, you can give us a 60-day extension, and you guys can work out the details there. But Mr. Listing Agent, I'm calling you to give you this news so you don't have to hear it from the borrower, but the buyer's agent, and I'm explaining it clearly to you. Okay, this is not normal, again, in my office, and I can tell you that this is not a mistake that my team or my processor made. This is part of the process, and this just came up. Do you have any questions for me on this? Dang, this is bad news. Blah, 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 and you work through it. Same thing, low appraisal. Address it. Call your agent. Hey, we got a low appraisal here. We're 14 grand off. I'm going to send it over to you. I'm going to ask you to look at these comparables. Look and see if the appraiser missed anything. Get some stuff back to us. Okay. I'm going to call the listing agent on your behalf as well right now. Ring, ring, listing agent. Hey, I want to let you know I'm managing the financing on 123 Maple Street. The good news is we got the appraisal back. Bad news is it came in 14 grand low. I'm going to let you guys iron this out. Okay. I want to let you know that I've looked at the appraisal. I've gone over it with our head of underwriting. Okay. And it doesn't look like it's bad. It doesn't look like the appraiser missed things or did a poor job. What I want to tell you, though, is we have an opportunity here in the next 24 hours, if you'd like, to look at this and see if the appraiser missed something or if we could have used better comps. Okay, so I've sent that over to the buyer's agent, but I just wanted you to hear it from me. I wanted you to hear it from me, the mortgage professional, because this stinks when this happens. It doesn't happen often, and I know we all work really hard to get deals closed. We don't control the appraisal process or the appraisers. We have great appraisers in our appraisal management system, but this is what happened, okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Reach out to the buyer's agent and reach out to me if you have any questions, but I'm here to put this deal together and to keep it together, okay? And I'll get it back into underwriting if you guys feel like the appraiser missed some comparables. Okay, have these conversations. Things come up, you guys, and transactions don't necessarily close on time. In my office and my team, 99.9% of the time they do. When we know that a transaction is not going to close on time, we know early. We know 1 to 2 days, 1 to 2 weeks out, not 1 to 2 days out, okay? So If you are following how I coach and how I run my operations, where we're doing Tuesday status updates and you're staying in touch with your processor and your loan officer assistants throughout the week, when you're a week out from closing and there's still things needed, your processor is going to tell you it doesn't look good for closing on time. That's the time to have the phone call to the listing agent, to the buyer's agent, let them know, hey, the borrower is having a hard time getting us X, Y, and Z. If they don't get these items to us by the end of business today, we're going to have a really hard time closing this loan on time. Communication. So it's really important, you guys. Now, in the event that you have to have that 2 days before closing, we're having a hard time on this transaction or working through a couple of things, get on the phone with the agents and listing agents and let them know. We're going to do everything in our power to get this thing closed on the closing date. But I'm telling you right now from experience, it's not looking great. I want to prep you right now that we're probably going to need a 2-day extension. Guys, those are better conversations to be had a week or 10 days out versus 1 to 2 days out. But if you can't make those calls a week to 10 days out, doing it 1 to 2 days out is way better than doing it the day before closing or the day of closing. That's my point of having this coaching call on communication. Don't wait until the finish line to have these tough phone calls. Make them early on. When you know and you get some bad news, and you know you're not going to close on time, get the call out to the agent. All the agents want is communication. I helped solve an ugly situation for New American Funding Pacific Northwest this last week on this deal that we were in because I knew the agent and I just communicated. I didn't communicate great news. I communicated the reality, but I framed it that you're working with a great team, loan officer, branch manager. You're working with great people, okay? They're working to get this thing closed. You've got me and you've got Lisa Britton also working on this. This deal's going to close. This is what happened. This is where we're at, and this is what we're working through. How I framed that made everything right. What was the problem is the agent couldn't get a hold of the loan officer or the branch manager. Nobody would call them back. And that is not acceptable. If a real estate, I don't go a day. I don't let the sun go down without returning phone calls to real estate agents or borrowers. I just don't do it. And there's no excuse. I did all of that last week on vacation. And it wasn't that hard because we have an amazing team here at New American Funding. Lisa Britton and Lori Larsh and Andy Rosales. Worst case scenario, you loop in Tony Blodgett. Me, your branch managers, okay? So communication, I want to leave you with this, you guys. Communication is so important. And here's one thing. I'm going to share this, and I know I'm beating I don't know why everyone doesn't use this. I'm beating a dead horse here, but if you go back to the 3X MLO tracker that I use, I've been coached on this for years, it's impossible not to communicate, you guys. If you follow this, on Monday, we call realtors to go get more realtor business. We do one of 3 things. We invite them to events, we invite them to a business meeting, or we communicate with them status updates on leads, okay? That's Mondays. On Tuesdays, we do loan status updates to the LA listing agent, BA buyer's agent, BR borrower. Every loan you have under mutual, they get a call. You tell them where the file's at. You tell them what you're accomplishing this week and what to expect next, and that we are on track to close the deal on time. That's what I say. That's it. Hey, we're going to get the appraisal back on Wednesday. Looks like a couple of minor borrower conditions are still outstanding. We're working through those, hoping to have those back by the appraisal. We'll lock the rate by the appraisal due date on Wednesday. Other than that, we got a week and a half out from closing. We're right on track to meet the closing date. Mr. Borrower, do you have any questions for me? Hey, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, maybe this or that. Hey, Mr. Borrower, I got one question for you. How is my team and I doing? Are we taking really good care of you? Is there anything that we could do better? No, Dan, your team is great. They're communicating great. You're awesome. Thanks for locking in my rate and protecting me. Are you sure? Is there anything that we can do to help you to make this a more pleasant experience? Nope, Dan, you guys are great. Awesome. Okay, when your agent asks you how things are going, what are you going to tell them? It's going great. Awesome. I'd appreciate that. Okay, cool. Call the real estate agents. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Same talk track. Is there anything we could be doing better to make things more easy or easier for you, more enjoyable for you. No, everything's going great, man. This is great. Okay, cool. That's it. Tuesday status updates. Wednesdays, we're following up with leads. We follow up with leads to communicate with them. We communicate about the market. We communicate about their pre-approval. We communicate about industry-changing events. That's why we make the Wednesday calls to leads and pre-approvals. Okay, Thursdays, past clients. We call past clients to what? Communicate. We call past clients to communicate with them. We're communicating with them where rates are at, where the market's at. Hey, it's an opportunity to invest in real estate right now. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown. We have lack of inventory. We're calling past clients to communicate with them. This whole call today is about communication. Guys, every single day of the week, it's all about communication. What's Friday? It's our marketing day. We create videos to send out on social media, to send out to past clients, to current clients. That's all about what? Communicating. Communicating. Guys, our whole business is centered around communicating. If we just did it a little bit better and we did a little bit more, we'd have more business, okay? This is why I waited until Sunday to come in and record this for you guys instead of hoping that my Wi-Fi was good enough. This message is too stinking good. It's too good. We all need to get better at this. I'm telling you, I'm not an expert. I do it just a little bit better than you because I've spent a lot of money on getting coached and practicing this. But I'm not an expert on this, and I'm getting better at this every single day. Trust me, my wife tells me that I could be a better communicator. Okay, my team tells me, well, if you would have told me this, okay, good. No, I'm going to get better at that. Okay, all right, you guys, communicate better. If you have any questions on this, reach out to me. Go to Amplify Your Influence. Follow Rene Rodriguez online. Buy his book. This stuff helps. Follow him on Instagram and YouTube, and you'll get his daily videos. They're awesome, okay? And I'm sure this stuff will really help you in your business, but it's important. If you're working with realtors and you're working with borrowers, if you're a mortgage professional and you're a branch manager, a leader in this market, get better at communicating. Make sure you call people back at the end of every single day, even if you don't have good news. Big part of communicating is just them hearing your voice. Hey, I don't have any new news for you. I don't have an update, but what I can tell you is I just got off the phone with the underwriter and they're working on it now. If I don't have an update via text later tonight, I'll call you tomorrow morning. Sometimes, you guys, that's all it takes. These real estate agents have a lot of money on the table. They've got their sellers, their borrowers, their buyers calling them. They're leaning on us for these updates, okay? Hope this helped. Guys, have a great week. Thanks for your patience. I really appreciate it. And I'm here if you need anything, okay?